Hello and welcome back to Mad Mouse Games. Today we're going to be talking about something a little bit different, and that is going to be the Reaper Bones 6 Kickstarter. Now, this is something I said I'd do a video about. I decided to wait a while because I wanted to make sure that everything was in order before I started doing it. So if you want to find the Reaper 6 Kickstarter, you just type Reaper 6 up here in the search bar, and it's this one right here. Reaper Miniatures Bones 6 Tales from the Green Griffin. As of right now, which is April 5th, there is $854,000 that have been pledged to this Kickstarter. So, in this video, I'm basically going to go through a little bit of how the Kickstarters work that Reaper does, as well as what you can expect and what you'd kind of be paying for. So let's get started. So we're going to kind of skip over this stuff. This is all just kind of tales or stories or whatever for the background of the Kickstarter. This is the first part we're going to be interested in. So the way that Reaper does it is when the backer amount hits a certain value, it unlocks different parts. For example, at 30,000, the core set is unlocked. At 55,000, the first of the 5 parts for the Green Griffin is done. So on and so forth. So some of these are things that will be added into the core set, like the Town Guards here, I think the Dawn Seekers, and the Dreadmire stuff. So those are things that are added to the core set. So the more people that back it and the more money that's put into it, the bigger value you will get for your bucks. As of right now, you can choose to pledge without a reward. You can choose to do an option pledge, which is what I did, where you pledge at least $10 or more. Or you can do this one, which is to pledge for at least a core set. Now, I'll go through and talk about all this stuff in a little bit, but first let's go through a little bit of this. So as of right now, the core set will cost you 125 bucks. As of right now, it is up to 84 miniatures. So it's still about $1.25, I think, per mini or something like that. But these are all the different kinds of minis you can get. Some of these are really cool. Like, I really like that they're doing a bunch of gnomes, because there were basically none in the last Kickstarter, as well as a dwarf here, a halfling. I think I got like 3 short minis from the last Kickstarter, so I'm glad to see a lot of those right at the top. But as you can see, it's just a lot more of hero characters, some bad guys. They've got all these zombies, some town guard, which I'm really excited for, as well as just a bunch of other things. And again, this core set will continue to grow. So right here, these are the core set stretch goals. So for example, when the Kickstarter reaches $870,000, these 2 minis will be added to the core set. So let's talk about this next part, which is the expansion sets. Usually these expansion sets, they cost 50 bucks, and they used to only come in 3 parts, but this year they changed it to 5 parts to get a full one unlocked. So this one is kind of a tavern themed one. This one has less minis and more terrain to it, but I really like a lot of these minis. Like, getting this would be perfect for setting up your own little tavern that your players could come and rest in. Not only that, but you could change it up. You know, maybe one time they have these long tables and benches, and the next time they come to a different tavern, it could be these chairs and the tables, or the long tables and the chairs, or however you want to set it up, which I think is really cool. There's beds. There's different kinds of people who are drinking or serving food, or there's a couple of different bartenders you can put in there, and of course, a good old mimic. Who doesn't want a good mimic? So these are the expansions. Usually they cost 50 bucks. I'm sure all of them will cost 50 bucks, but the nice thing about an expansion is they're all kind of themed. So this one is like an undead themed. So if you're like, hey, I want to run a campaign with lots of undead creatures that I want to put on a board, this is great for 50 bucks. As of right now, including terrain, it looks like it'll go up to what is that, 31 total minis slash terrain pieces. But I mean, this guy is going to be a 3-inch base, which is huge. And so these are really cool if you're just looking, and if you don't want to spend 125 bucks, because that sounds like a lot to you, then these are really nice to pick up for just 50 bucks. So, and it looks like they've got this expansion out now too, which I haven't looked at yet. The Briarwood Vale expansion, which looks like it's going to be kind of like a Feywild kind of themed one. Maybe like an enchanted forest. So if you're going to have your players like spending a lot of time in one of those, this would be good to pick up for 50 bucks. It looks like this one also comes with 31 minis, which is not bad. So these ones are coming up as the stretch goals are unlocked. I'm sure we'll see more of these. Denizens of the Dungeon expansion and the Lost Tombs of Hakir. This one is supposed to be an Egyptian themed one, which I will probably end up getting because that just is awesome. And I always liked ancient Egyptian stuff. So anyways, the other thing that you can do are these options. So this is kind of where the options pledge comes in. If you are just looking to pick up some paints, I mean, you get 12 paints here for 18 bucks. That's pretty dang good. Or you're like, hey, I want some gnolls. $14, you get 6 gnolls. You know, these men-at-arms. So these are for, like, Pathfinder. These I'm not really interested in, but, hey, if it floats your boat, floats your boat. So there's lots of cool ones there. I know that they have a lot of different things. So now we'll get into kind of how the Kickstarter and backing it will work. First, you have to make an account on Kickstarter, of course, and you're going to want to use an email that you know you're going to be having in a couple years. I think they're estimating, let me see if I can find it really quick. I think they're figuring they will ship it in April of 2024. So it'll be 2 years until you get these minis. This is the one bad thing, I think, about these Reaper Kickstarters is you have to wait a long time for your stuff, but I think it's totally worth it. So what will happen is however much money you back with, either 110 or more, or sorry, 10 or more, or 125 or more, you get to pick which one you want to do, and then you will just pledge the amount that you want. You can just add up, like I'll probably, at this point, I'll probably end up getting, sorry, scroll up really quick. I will probably end up getting the core set and probably 2 expansions like I did last time, which comes to a total of $225. So I will probably end up pledging $225 in this Kickstarter. So what happens is after you pledge, that's all you do. It's really easy. You just pledge. Make sure you use a good valid email so that you can get emails because you will need to get those. So what happens is after about 30 days or within 30 days, let's see, right here. So you will get, after the Kickstarter ends, you will get a number of credits equal to your Kickstarter pledge. This will go on to the Reaper Pledge Manager is what it's called. And the Reaper Pledge Manager will not be active until after the Kickstarter is completed, which is why it's important that you put a valid email on there. Because your valid email is where they'll tell you, hey, the Reaper Pledge Manager is open, you can finalize your pledge, put your address in there, and make sure that everything is completely paid for. So once it's active, if I pledge $225 in either of these categories, it will be a credit on there. Then I would pick what pledges I want and then put in the shipping information and so on. Now, in order for your credits from the Kickstarter to be on the Pledge Manager, you must use the same email for both. Otherwise, your credits won't show up. So make sure that you use a good email. I can't stress that enough. Because I know that in the last Kickstarter, that was like the big thing that people were having issues with. Now, if you're trying to calculate for shipping as well, because the one thing I didn't do last time was calculate for shipping. And so after I pledged, I think it was like $15 or something like that, um, to ship everything to me, which might be different this time. They have kind of how you can gauge what weight it will be. So if that's important for where you are, then that'll be interesting. Now, one thing about these Reaper Kickstarters is you basically have hardly any of these risks and challenges. Now, there are, of course, risks for any Kickstarter. Um, Here, they're saying, these are the three main things that could happen. Overall non-completion, which means they just don't do anything. There's delays in meeting the delivery dates, which they had last time, which is why I think they have a longer delivery time this time. Or they could not produce a specific mini or change a specific mini. Now, they did do that with one mini in the last Kickstarter that I noticed, but they didn't even change it. They just gave you options on it. So it was actually there were two. There was the female, it was like the land something. It's basically a knight. There was a female, and they had two different heads that you could put on her. One with the full face helmet and one with just a head with the hair coming out and everything. And there was another mini that you could have a shield or like a dagger in one hand, and you just pick between the two. And so, there are delays, there are things like that. They are going to modify things, probably not a lot though, because they're a professional company. They're really good at this. And right here, every first and third Friday of the month, they will always do an update, which you can always find here on Kickstarter, or they'll send it to your email. So again, make sure you have a good email. Now, all in all, I have loved participating in these Kickstarters. I think they are definitely worth your buck. If you compare it to something like buying your own 3D printer, it's pretty comparable. But the nice thing about these is you don't have to design them, you don't have to take the time to print them. You just wait the 2 years and then you get all of them at one time, which I like. So, this is something that I highly recommend that you invest in, especially if you are wanting to get into minis and you have the funds for it. Because buying each of these minis individually at your local gaming store would just be way too expensive. I mean, these 16 zombies here would probably cost you something like 40 to 50 bucks at a gaming store, which is almost, a third of this total price. And yes, a lot of these zombies are kind of the same. Like, look, there's basically four of each, and there's four different kinds, but still, I mean, it's something that I think is definitely, definitely worth it. So, get in on the Kickstarter before it ends. You usually, Reaper allows you to get in later. If you don't back the project in time, they'll have a little button that'll pop up after the Kickstarter's over that says, oh, if you didn't back it, click here. It'll take you to the pledge manager. You can pledge everything. But if you pledge now, you will get more things unlocked. Like if everybody that would have or that everybody who didn't back the last Kickstarter but who ended up participating in it later, if they had invested in the Kickstarter, then everybody probably would have got at least 10 more minis through the core set, which is huge. I mean, it's not that huge, but some of these are really cool. Like this one here is probably going to be a large based mini. It's going to be pretty tall, which is going to be awesome. So, if you are thinking about getting into it, this is it. If you have questions, put them down in the comments, and I will try and answer them to the best of my ability. I've participated in only one of these before, but I can kind of give you my experience. I can let you know how it all kind of works. Again, most people have questions about like the pledge manager and when it comes out. Again, that all happens after the Kickstarter is over. So keep an eye out for that in your emails. I will leave a link in the description to the Kickstarter itself, so you can just click on it straight from the video. And again, any questions, comments, leave them for me. I will get to them as quick as I can. And I hope you enjoyed this, and you guys have a wonderful day.